Hello, Secret Keepers. Change is neither good nor bad. It is only inevitable. But today we're going to find out if it's tolerable, because starting today, I'm going to be joined in studios by my co-host and tormentor, Danny Ayub.
Here in the flesh.
Dead or alive, you're podcasting with me. That and so much more on today's episode of the Moth Studios Super Secret Podcast. Shh. Please send help. All right, well, everybody, I'm your host, the anxious pedant, Joel. Joined as always by
Danny, wondering if one of us is actually going to die during the podcast, which one you think is most likely to die during the podcast?
I would say based on health, me.
Okay. I agree.
Damn.
But I was thinking because I'd be more likely to get you going on something random that you took a little too far.
Yeah, it's like, cut to 30 minutes or an hour from now and you just see me falling from the ceiling onto my head onto the ground. Yeah, that could happen, and I've been talked into very dangerous situations before. Is that a grandfather
clock? What is that?
Yeah, it is, or kind of, a grandfather clock.
Is this a haunted apartment? Where
I'm trying to, that dark academia thing. I'm trying to put
I
my
like
foot
dark
into.
academia. That's a very nice aesthetic.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait. I mean, hopefully over the course of this podcast, y'all will see this room transform into something completely different. But no, it was a gift from my stepfather. It was like family heirloom. It's like one of the few things I could call family heirloom. So I'm kind of holding on to it. But the sucker runs fast. I'll tell you that. It's like I reset it just a week ago or so, and it's already like 5 minutes fast.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's really in a hurry.
I know. So, well, speaking about being in a hurry, today we each brought in a super secret topic to talk about. So we're going to try something new and surprise each other with some secret topics. But before we get to the big reveal,
reveals. It's going to be two reveals.
Two. Why was he two, Johnny?
Is that how the Germans do it too?
That's how everybody does it too, I'm pretty sure.
I do it like this.
Anyways, but before we get to the big reveal, let's answer the question of the week.
Okay.
I don't know if I had a great one for us here today, Danny, because I spent a lot of time agonizing over a few different topics until last night I decided I'm just going to go with the thing that was on my mind last night. But what do you believe is the hardest video game you've ever beaten?
That I've ever beaten?
Yes.
Wow, now I got to think about which video games I've actually beaten.
I know. It's like such like looking back, there's so many games that I give up on, like in the home stretch. That's like, I'm really bad about that.
Well, the last game I think I beat would be Diablo 3.
Okay.
I don't know if that was the hardest though.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I typically don't play super hard video games.
Yeah. You also play a lot of like multiplayer type games where it's not about beating the game. It's about having fun in a match.
It's about beating your friends.
Yes, which you would do frequently.
Psychologically.
Okay.
Mostly.
That's fair. I mean, it's
sorry,
like,
Fenderman.
Story-driven games aren't, always a thing. And yeah, you're not one. You're probably one to hear like, oh, a game has a good story, and that's what's going to draw you to play through it. Versus a game is hard.
In-game nudity. Mostly.
Yeah. You put in those Lara Croft nude codes when you were a kid.
I like the I mean, I'm not gonna out myself here, but I definitely was looking for them for games that probably didn't have them. Though.
Yes. Yeah. No. I was also like big into story, but like there's been a few games that, like the combination of story, atmosphere, and then it was also hard was like, came together. I mean, as you know, I speak of it often as my favorite video game ever. So the hardest game I have beaten is Hollow Knight.
Yeah.
Because
that game does look hard.
And the reason is like I've played a lot of the Soulsborne games, but I've never played one to completion. I always like to say that I tend to get my fill of those games.
Is that Dark Souls? What is that?
Yeah, Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, Sekiro, Bloodborne, and Elden Ring are considered the Soulsborne games. The name is derived from Dark Souls, and Bloodborne, Soulsborne. So, but my brother has, I think, beaten all of those games. I watched him beat Sekiro, and that game was, I I'm intimidated by it. I almost don't want to pick it up. But I'm starting to date a woman who she loves those games, so I'm going to have to probably prove my mettle in them.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that for you. I think the hardest game that I've played, and this will tell you a little bit about how much gaming I do and
Yeah.
the type of game I do, is probably Cuphead. Cuphead is much harder than you would think just looking at the graphics.
Yeah, no, it's
Art, maybe.
I mean, it is art, like, but it is the graphics of the game.
Yeah.
I've played a few of the bosses in Cuphead, and yeah, it was a gauntlet or an uphill battle. Every single time you start fighting a new boss, it's like you have to learn a new language, a new way of approaching. Hey, Winston. No, you want to come up here?
Yeah,
Want to be on the show?
Video games, oddly, a lot of times, especially like boss fights or just getting through certain types of levels, are about like memorizing a certain dexterity pattern, or like just getting used to. There's just one specific combination of actions and movements that will help you beat this boss, and until you figure that out, it's going to seem impossible.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost like I mean, the great thing about those kind of boss fights, though, it's almost like any task. I mean, I forgot. I think it's the YouTuber Healthy Gamer GG. I think I've mentioned him to you before and personal conversations, but he put it very bluntly and very well. It's like the difference between something that's hard and something that's easy is, do you know how to do it?
Yeah.
That's basically it. That's like the only thing that stands in your way. If you understand how to do something, it no longer is hard. It might be time consuming, it might be annoying, but it's not hard if you know how to do it. And that's kind of like, a lot, especially in the Soulsborne games, learning how to time boss battles. Like, it's a lot of memorization. It's a lot of just like, oh, if they do this, that means this is about to happen. That means I need to take this defensive action, or it means that I have an opening to attack.
Maybe in the context of games, but there are definitely things that are hard even though you know how to do it. Like, you're like, this is going to take me 1,400 hours to do, and that's going to be psychologically painful.
Yeah.
That's a lot of what it is to be a parent. So, I mean, like, there's...
Well, but do you know how to be a parent, really?
Does anyone know how to be a parent?
I don't think so. I personally I have witnessed very few great parents in my time. But I would say that it's like it feels like with parenting, one of the things so I've embraced the idea that I might have to be a stepfather, because it's like the type of, at this age, dating people to try to date somebody who doesn't have kids is a preposterous thing.
It's one of the things I'm most excited about in life.
Yeah. So what, me being a stepfather?
Yeah.
Well, I hope I don't disappoint. But the thing that kind of worries me about being a stepfather is that you're not there for the very beginning. And it's like there's almost a continuity game for raising kids. It's like each phase prepares you for the next. I could be wrong about that, but it feels like, you kind of have some built-in knowledge having raised the child from the very beginning versus stepping in like when they're 5 or something.
From my perspective, though, you have a pretty solid stepfather as a role model. I mean, from what I've seen, I really feel like Joe's, pretty class act in that department.
I would definitely say so. Joe is a great stepfather and just a great dad in general.
Yep.
So I would definitely turn to him for advice in raising us, a child. And yeah, I mean, he shows me that you can be a stepdad and still be somebody's dad.
Yep.
So
100%.
Oh, interesting how we got there from where the question was. So your answer to the question of the week, though, would you
parenting,
say parenting? And my answer is not Dark Souls, Hollow Knight.
Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that's the question of the week. So should we take a quick break and then come back with your topic, Danny?
Yeah, let's do a quick break. I don't know what that break's going to entail, but I'm sure we'll figure something out. Oh, I know what it could be.
What?
Maybe something to do with pre-ordering X Seekers of Fortune, which is now available for pre-order.
Yeah, if you go to, what's the best way of getting there? Go to pledgemanager.com?
Kickstarter.
Okay,
or even xseekersoffortune.com still redirects to Kickstarter.
Yes.
And then it'll say late pledge here, and you'll click that, and it'll give you a menu of options of what is still available in terms of packages. Most of them are still available.
Yeah.
There's a few that were only Kickstarter exclusives. And then once you click into that, you'll have the option to buy some add-ons like the cool mats, uncut sheets, that sort of thing?
Oh yeah, we definitely came up with some awesome add-ons, a few weeks into the into the campaign that we added on, literally add-ons. But no, this is your last chance to still get a discount on X Seekers of Fortune. Once we go to print, we're not going to take any more late pledges, and you'll have to buy at full retail price. So if you still want to get a discount, and if you still want to show your early support and get some of those cool add-ons, go to xseekersoffortune.com, redirect to Kickstarter, and go and click that late pledge button and see what's out there for you.
Yep, sounds good. Maybe roll the trailer.
Ah, yes. I see it within you. It starts with a subtle urge. You tried to ignore it, but the call, it intensifies. Do not look away, kid. This is your moment. It is time to set your sights on new adventures in X Seekers of Fortune. A quintessential two-player strategy card game filled to the brim with mystical challenges and unpredictable twists. As fortune seekers, race to claim 5 adventures by assembling the necessary leads to fulfill your quests. But who said it would be that simple? Throughout your quest, you and your rival will unearth ancient sites, perform staggering feats, and discover powerful relics for use in noble or ruthless ways. As you gather more experience, you will discover crafty combinations that will save your hide or sabotage the competition, leaving you with the prize. Remember, the line between a legendary explorer and a mere footnote in history is drawn by knowing when to press forwards or when it is time for cunning manipulations. It is time to answer the call. X marks the spot. Set forth and seek your fortune.
There we go.
There we go. Are we back yet?
Wow, did Ori do such a great job on that trailer?
Yeah, I love Ori. And he's just started a brand new Kickstarter academy called Kagan Duck Academy, I think, or Duckademy.
Duckademy. I love that.
Sorry, Ori, if we got that wrong. Speaking of which, working with Ori right now on a date for him to come on the podcast.
Excellent. I can't wait to talk to him, just because it's always been very businessy, because we're always on, he's been, we've been his clients whenever we've talked to him. I'd love to talk to him as like a peer and as a guest.
Yeah, actually, check this image out. This is an image that I sent Ori recently because I feel like it's like an evil version of him coming up in the new set of Magic the Gathering, the Dustmorn. What is it called? I don't know. But yeah.
Is this after the one that's out now?
Yeah, it's a 1980s like horror movie themed haunted house set.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing about that when they first teased it. So that's finally coming around.
Yeah.
That one is the what is it? The lid is off in terms of Magic the Gathering being just a fantasy series, and now it can be almost anything sort of extra supernatural.
Yeah, it can be. And then I noticed in their product lineup they have this new Nightmare bundle, which is like the shape of like a TV. It kind of has like a video drone.
Oh, really?
Kind of effect, and that's obviously kind of new for Magic to see something that feels like a retro television. I don't know if that's going to be represented in the game or if that's just like a meta element for the packaging, but that caught my eye.
I'll have to take a look at it. Maybe we could show the audience what's up there.
At this stuff. The cool thing is Joel never gets to see this stuff during the show, so he has to just pretend like he's impressed by the green screen that I'm pointing to.
Oh wow, dang! Look at that. I mean, very. Which filmmaker is that? It's not Kubrick, obviously. It's David. Oh, I'm blanking so hard. He made The Fly as well. But yeah, you're right.
Cronenberg.
Cronenberg, yeah. Very Cronenberg. Very, very Cronenberg. I gotta love those old CRT TVs.
Speaking of David Cronenberg, show this clip here from Emma's from Hamburger where Joel's getting part of his stomach cut off. Yeah, that's pretty Cronenberg.
Yeah, I can agree with that. That was a fun shoot. I think, being tied up like that, you still want to give it your all. I think I gave it my all.
Yeah, that was kind of the best thing until I heard that you're trying to be a stepfather. That kind of supplants that as what I'm most enthusiastic about for your life developments.
Yes, well, that's great. Well, Denny, we didn't come here to talk about me and my acting prowess. You had a topic today?
Oh, I'm going first?
Yeah, that's what we said before the break.
Oh, I didn't recognize that as being fact. All right. Okay, so I want to talk about something. So you're not like as into collectible cards as I am.
Correct.
Certainly not anymore. I've always been into collectible cards. When I was a kid, growing up in the 90s, I was really into baseball cards.
Yeah.
Basketball cards, used to collect them, the memorabilia cards. I still have all my baseball cards in Tucson. My brother and I have a shared collection.
Wait, didn't you play, before you played Magic the Gathering, wasn't there a baseball trading card game?
There was. It's called MLB Showdown, I think, but I may be confusing that with like the name of a video game.
Yeah.
But it was a card game, and you'd open up different players, and you put together teams. And you roll a D20, and they had ranges for certain outcomes. So like a really great batter might have like a larger home run. You know, like Mark McGwire might have 14 and higher for a home run.
That's really good odds on a D20.
Yeah. It's like 25% of the chance, but like his strikeout range might be higher. So it was a pretty good game. And my brother and I were total nerds about it. We would actually play entire seasons and keep stats and then vote on awards. And yet somehow Lucas got all the awards and the most winning every season.
A vote of 2.
Yeah.
He's he would be quite the politician.
Yeah. I mean, if you're losing and you have veto on every vote, there's something wrong with you. So, I mean, I don't know what that says about me. But anyway, I digress. Then after that, we got into Pokemon. We were on the Charizard chase.
Of course.
And
I even did that. You know,
yeah,
who
most
didn't?
people have. Like even a lot of people never played Pokemon. They got into it. Got into Magic. And for Magic was the first time that it was more about playing than collecting, but I still collected. And I've never been the type of collector who is seriously interested in making money off of my collection.
Yeah.
It's more like, I love these cards. I want to have them so I can build the decks. But I know one day my collection will be able to be sold for something, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I think that's the healthy way of doing it. I get upset at the collectors who treat Magic the Gathering cards as though they're stocks on the market.
Yeah, absolutely. But there is a corner of collecting that is facing quite a bit of controversy right now.
Okay.
So one of the ways that people collect things is they collect sealed boxes, sealed packs. Are you familiar with the concept of like trying to have like a box of Kanza that has never been opened, and then you know there's probably some percentage of fetch lands in that, right?
Yeah.
Like that maybe isn't a big draw now, but in 20 years maybe it's a really big draw depending on scarcity.
If they reprint the fetch lands over and over again or not, and all that jazz, or if that particular art set of fetch lands becomes like more coveted because like there's a bad art on Polluted Delta, but it's the most common version of Polluted Delta.
Yeah, like a sealed alpha starter is a big deal because there could be a Black Lotus in there, there could be power in there, and so the box could have all of the worst cards in it, but it's still going to sell for a ton of money because there's the opportunity.
Yeah.
And once you open it, it's worth a ton less.
Yes.
Right. And so for the most part,
you know what it reminds me of?
What does it remind you of?
Deal or No Deal.
Deal or No Deal.
Because it's like the case is like, as long as the money cases aren't opened, the potential value of every unopened case is super high. And so the banker wants to buy you out at a higher rate, but once one of those money cases gets open, you just drop the value of what the banker wants to pay you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great analogy. So with the sealed collectibles, there's always been like a little bit of a warning, like, hey, with booster packs in particular, be careful not to buy them. You can weigh them and detect minute differences, especially in Pokemon with foils. So if you're buying, probably someone's weighed them and they're selling you ones that are not going to have hits in them. So like that's always been on kind of people's radar. And then there's also always the off chance that someone is going to open product and expertly reseal it and take out anything that's good. And so this stuff is haunted the collectible space for a long time.
This is like if you were to write a noir movie about the collectible space, this is the kind of things that your characters would be dealing with. It's like, oh, did you hear about him? He got, somebody got upset because they found out that he was reselling product. Nobody's seen him since.
No one's seen him since.
Yeah.
He's sleeping with the fishes.
Sleeping with Teferi.
Yeah, Magikarp. But these sort of tactics pale in comparison to what's the new controversy.
Oh, I love this. I love new controversies. Okay, give me 1 second. What is the new controversy, Danny?
So on June 26th of this year, a company called Industrial Imaging, I think that's what it's called. Let me check my notes here. I don't want to malign anyone with...
Did you like printed out notes?
I printed out notes. Normally we have show notes.
I'm gonna have to step up my game. I guess granted, yeah, I wrote my show notes in here, so
yeah. Industrial inspection. There's a company called Industrial Inspection, and on June 26th of this year, they released a case study saying that they had they demonstrated that they can use CT scanners to view what cards are in sealed product.
Wow. Yeah. This changes the game completely.
Completely, because not only were they able to demonstrate that they can show you what type of Pokemon it is using CT scans, which are basically like two-dimensional X-ray images that are composited to create like three-dimensional models, and then you can kind of manipulate I think it's the contrast to view the minute differences in the density to get something that you can basically see as like the outline of a Pokemon that can be identified. But this can be used for they've showed it works with sports cards, Magic cards, everything. So not only can they tell that, but they can also basically tell the condition of the card, the centering, that kind of stuff, so that they can get a lot of the attributes for grading the card in the pack. So they could say, okay, with a reasonable amount of confidence, we have, I don't know if they have 100% of all the grading stuff, but they can there's like a Gem Mint 9, Charizard first edition in this booster pack.
Yeah.
Which obviously is crazy, causing everyone to go crazy in this space, because there are a lot of people heavily invested in sealed product that sell sealed product, and they're like, this is dead overnight. You will never trust anything you've gotten anymore if you think someone can look into the box without tampering with the packaging,
or vice versa. Everybody will expect you to have your product scanned, or and we can only assume this is CT. I don't know everything about this technology, but this sounds like a technology that isn't the most rare. It's not like did they have to calibrate it or come out with a special thing, or did they just take an existing scanner and use it for this purpose?
Yeah, so this is like so I saw an example on a YouTube video where a guy was able to do it, calibrating the machine himself. Now, he does this professionally, so he has the expertise, but he was able to buy his own CT scanner from some dude on the internet for $1,500. So it's not like it's a super prohibitive cost if you can do it on a machine that size. I've heard that some of the machines that you need are quite a bit more expensive. But again, if you're like a big card house, like it's not cost prohibitive.
No.
And we'll get to it, but this industrial inspection company announced on July 27th, about a month later after releasing this case study, that they were going to be the first collectible service for imaging. So people could send in stuff to get imaged. So they've already commercialized it, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second.
Okay, I just want to point out that they're the first people who have stated that they've discovered this technology,
and that's their point. They're saying we're just bringing to light something that we have heard other people have been doing quietly for years, and we felt that it was better for everyone to know this technology existed than to allow like a handful of people to take advantage of it. But interestingly, I was watching that YouTube video, and I'll have to look up who it is. I'd love to reference them. Maybe I'll tell you who it is, and you can put their information up here, and we can add it to the show notes or something. But he said that he got the idea for doing this analysis with the Pokemon independently, and he got it because he was part of a project where he was working with a team of people trying to read the Herculaneum scrolls that were discovered in so basically Herculaneum was kind of like Pompeii.
Okay.
There was the volcanic eruption. These scrolls got covered in ash, got carbonized, but they're still intact. And they've tried for years and years and years to read them, but when you open them, they just crumble.
Oh, yeah. Old parchment. So I'm guessing what they're trying to do is scan them and see if they can get the writing. And
they have successfully.
Awesome.
And so now they've found like all this new philosophical material, and it's like I think a lot of Epicurean text. And so it's definitely a treasure trove for history and for arts and stuff. But this kid was like, oh, okay. I mean, they did it for thousands of year old scrolls. Maybe we can do it for Pokemon cards.
Yeah, of course. Of course, the zoomer in the room first. That's the first thing that he thought of after seeing what the technology can do. But I mean, he's right. He's right, or whoever it was right.
So obviously, people are freaking out online, and a lot of people are pointing out like it's kind of hypocritical because like a lot of these big time sellers who have YouTube channels are already engaging in kind of sketchy practices.
Yeah.
But this is kind of like a big bombshell that hey y'all, you can't really trust sealed product is random.
No.
You know, and it's always kind of been sketchy whether you could, but now it's just like the cat is out of the bag. Slowly but surely, everyone is figuring it out.
And it's like you can't retroactively fix this at all. I mean, this is like one of those things. It's an inherent flaw because they can't reprint the product and put it into a booster pack material that is like I don't know, lead lined.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I'm sure moving forward, if they really wanted to preserve this market, they could do something with that. But this like changes the game for collectible card games in general, because this also would like potentially hinder draft environments too, because like it would be a very big scam, but if like a store wanted to have a ringer of a player and like feed them booster packs that have the best like round one pick to try to I don't know, keep the prize pool from getting out of hand for other players, it would be crazy. That's probably not worth it, but still it does change, in my opinion, change the game for the entire trading card game market. I remember some similar tactics in the past, or one of those tactics I remember seeing and somebody proving was I think it was the Theros block maybe, or a Ravnica block, and I watched them take open a sealed product, and then like I think all they had to do was open one pack, put it into like some sort of algorithm or something like that, and they could tell, okay, if this pack has this card, that means like three rows down, 2 packs over will be the like fetch land or whatever it was.
Really?
Yeah, and then they showed like 3 or 4 different times, like showing like I can pull out all the valuable cards. I'll know like there'll be like 4 overvalued rares in this box. I'll pick out all those, and then I can sell the rest of the box.
I think they call that like box mapping or something.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. That is another big thing.
Okay.
So what I wanted to do here, so obviously in the face of all this backlash, this industrial inspection company issued a statement on August 3rd. Okay. I thought I'd just read it to you and we could kind of talk about it, and that would probably be like the finer point on this discussion. I think we can leave it there. But on August 3rd, they write, we are aware of and working through the moral dilemma of CT scanning sealed collectibles. Our objective position is one of scientific ability and data-driven results. It is not our responsibility to determine the ethical positions and choices of others, and we do not accept responsibility for their actions. 1. We have brought awareness to the entire industry of the existence and capabilities of this technology. It is up to individuals to make informed decisions moving forward. 2. In light of information we have received from industry insiders, we believe companies are using this technology in secret to take advantage of the collectibles market. 3. We are making this technology accessible to everyone rather than just a minority. 4. We are working on policies to combat deceptive practices. 5. We are working on partnering with manufacturers to develop packaging security solutions. 6. We will continue to consider every request we receive. 7. This technology is here to stay, and there will probably be additional companies offering it as a service at some time in the future. 8. The majority of requests we have received have been from people curious about the value of their 30-year-old collectible and if this is their opportunity for a life-changing moment. So presumably that means like, hey, I have an alpha booster I've been holding on to forever. Is there a Black Lotus in here?
Yeah. It's good for that person, the private collector who has put a lot of and he's just chewing on
for now.
For now, yeah. I'm keeping my eye on him, but if it's good for that person in particular. It's very good for the private collector who has like, I have had this. I'm hoping it means something, and now that the technology's out there, they can't not get it scanned. It's like I can't sell this hoping that it's, I can't sell this for like what the median price of, like, I don't know, what were alpha boosters going for, like $15,000.
I don't know, but
you don't know.
Crazy.
Yeah, but it was, you're like you said, the cat's out of the bag. The market completely changed. The people out there who have been holding on to these this product honestly need to know what they have as soon as possible so they can change their life plans accordingly. So it's very fascinating to think about, and I guess I'm glad that somebody has outed this, because if it was possible, like you said, if these people brought this the awareness of this to the market, it means that other people were doing it in secret and selling off junk, like old booster packs with junk product in it, knowing that there was junk product in it and saving all the good stuff for themselves.
So, I guess that's the question that we need to answer here. I guess we don't need to answer it, but I think we probably should, since we're on a podcast.
Yeah. What's the question?
Is industrial inspection doing a good thing by outing this practice and then turning and commercializing it? Is it a bad thing? Is it mixed? How do you read this situation?
I think my personal opinion is that you would only consider this a bad thing if you like playing the lottery, I guess. If you think that it's more valuable to have hope than it is to have a chance, I think that, like if this was going on in secret, and you have to assume if people knew about this and were ahead of the curve, they were scooping up as much product as they could and scanning it and just selling off the junk for as much as they could. So it's like, you just know that playing the sealed product game is not worth it anymore. It's changed the market. It's changed the game entirely, but it's necessary. And somebody had to come out and let consumers make an informed decision instead of blindly buying stuff that was, predetermined to be trash rares.
Yeah. It's a precarious position, right? Because people already, once they're aware of it, which the majority of the people who would even consider buying a $15,000 sealed collectible are certainly aware of it now. I can't imagine there are a whole lot of people who are in the market for these types of things that aren't up to date on this type of story, right?
Okay.
Because randos don't buy $15,000 booster packs out of nowhere usually, right?
Yeah.
And so then, overnight, everything gets called into question. On net, though, if this was already happening and there were people who were taking advantage of the market in this way, that needed to come to light. That was whistleblowing. Now, does it make sense to turn around and offer this as a service? I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with them accepting solicitation to be like, hey, we do this, or putting on their website. They did kind of put it on their website, like packages. You could tell they were kind of like trying to sell it. And I think, I don't know how I feel about that, because it's kind of like, the thing that you said that you were doing was good was letting us know. But then you went and started this other business. And I'm still trying to understand what the value of this business is, right? Like, it is people who want to know what's in their collectible, but then what? They find out that it's not what they want, so they try to sell it under false pretense, or they just keep it as a sealed collectible and don't open it, but then they find out it's a backloaded, so they open it. What are they hoping to?
Well, I think what they're hoping to do is to give the average or the less savvy consumer, or the less means driven consumer who doesn't, like you said, there's the big card houses that they can afford to have this machine, and they can afford to store it, and they can afford to have somebody who learns to be an expert at the machine. But, if you just happen to have, you yourself happen to have this product that you were sitting on, you can't do that. Somebody, you would need to go to a source, and these guys are probably the most reputable people that have, out there, since they actually advertised that they had it. That's because now, what are your options? I guess your option is you don't have to get it scanned.
Yeah, you just open it.
Yeah. I guess that's the thing. It's like if that's the case, there's no reason to scan it, because if you scan it and there's nothing in there, you're just going to open it. If you scan it and there's something in there, you're just going to open it. Like there's no point to the sealed format anymore. It's like, oh, I had this scanned and there's a Black Lotus inside and I kept it sealed.
The only way that I see this becoming a viable thing is if like it becomes a thing to be like, I scanned this. Here's the evidence. It has a Black Lotus. It has, here's the verification. It's in some sort of sale from the thing, and I want to buy a case that I know has a Black Lotus in it, because that means that it's like, I think someone commented on a Reddit post where I found this video about the kid doing the Pokemon, and someone joked, bro just invented PSA 11. Like the idea like, oh, okay, there's something that goes beyond a Gem Mint 10. It's something that's still in the pack, but it's there. And maybe there are people out there who want to buy that. But to me, it just seems like the cat is out of the bag. The genie's out of the bottle. I don't see how sealed product that's already out in the world in circulation recovers from this. Maybe they fix it with the future, but it's a hard problem to solve.
It's probably not even a worthy problem to solve. Well, because here's the question. Will they ever have... When was the last time Magic printed a card that even comes within, like, I don't know, a tenth of the value of, like, one of the Power 9?
I mean, pretty recently. I mean, the most expensive card ever printed was recent.
Oh, the One Ring.
Yeah. And
that's already been found.
That's been found, but...
that was a gimmick also.
But can you imagine what would have happened if the One Ring was released in this situation now, where there would be CT scanning? I mean, in theory, it could crash the price of collectible boosters for Magic, because no one would want to buy the product. I mean, they're going to have a hard time.
Well,
it's going to have a weird effect. Like, and this is part of the reason I bring it up.
Yeah. One
of the things that I've heard people on the Facebook group, the TCG Facebook collectors Facebook group, talking about is like, this is perhaps going to push more people towards LCGs. This idea that it's like, okay, like you can't trust sealed product, and so I don't know what the long-term impacts are going to be on the secondary market. If we're just going to see people open up more and people are going to want to see more singles. Because one of the things also is, there's a lot of big whales out there that are just hoarding a bunch of sealed product. And if that product doesn't sell anymore because they're not going to hold it, and they don't want to open it to just open it right away, maybe that product goes and doesn't get sold, and now all of a sudden the amount of boxes that get sold is a lot less, because those people who are just collecting sealed product for the future payday aren't doing it. And maybe that's going to lead to some of the more recent sets to be overproduced, the singles crash because sealed product plummets, and then Magic has to correct and print less product percent in the future.
I mean, now we're talking about Magic, Pokemon,
Everyone.
One Piece, because those, like, especially those games where one of the reasons to buy the packs is like, they have super rares. Like, not even Magic the Gathering has like what One Piece has with their like manga rares or whatever, that actually have like a UV version of the artist signature on the card. I saw it's really cool, but now it's like, well, the cat's out. If the cat's out of the bag on Magic and Pokemon, it's out of the bag on everything. And now all those gimmicks, which I think those were actually really good gimmicks, like just the idea of like, it's the same card but with different art. That's what we want to do with X Secrets of Fortune. It's like we're not holding any of the cards back from the consumer, but you might get a really special art, in the future. That was our hope.
And there are some ideas that we had. We've been really, really cautious not to put randomized product into sealed, because we never wanted to create an environment where we were selling a bunch of units that were never intended to be played with. Like the idea that you had people buying up a bunch of cards, not necessarily that they were holding sealed product, but like the idea that, okay, we put one randomized special card in every 100 boxes of X Seekers of Fortune. So people buy way more copies of X Seekers of Fortune than they would ever want because they're chasing the one rare card. Meanwhile, all those extra copies just get sent to half price books and Goodwill or get thrown in the garbage dump. And that just makes the game feel cheap. You know, you walk in and you see 10 copies of it at Goodwill. Do you really think that sounds like a good game?
No, I mean, like, if you wanted to circulate, like, my hope was always, like, give people a reason to buy a second copy that they take, like, a product out of and then give to their newbie friend. You know, it's like, oh, I get a little special prize for buying an extra copy of the game that I'm meant to give away to somebody. Or maybe I buy a copy of the game for all my friends and I get, like these 4 extra prizes. But, like you said, that it will eventually incentivize people to buy, like, 30 copies of the game, and they have 5 friends, and then they give the other 25 away. They're just like donating, or they're just putting them in the trash.
I think if we did like a cosmetic booster pack, I'd be a little bit okay with that, because you're not going to put a booster pack in a Goodwill store. I mean, how often do you see loose Pokemon cards or whatever? I don't know. I do want to do something that's exciting from a collectible standpoint. This whole situation has made me think a lot about, okay, I want people to want to collect X Seekers of Fortune, but do I want people to feel like X Seekers of Fortune is an investment and something that they should be trying to hedge to resell? And I don't think that's the kind of collectible product I'm interested in putting out there. I want to put out a game that you want to collect because it's a form of self-expression for you. These are my favorite treatments. There's a lot of people like me who are like, I want that version of Wrath of God,
Yeah. I was always very particular. Like, if I want a card, I want to get my version of the card and that I find special. And unless it's like prohibitive, I'll go and spend an extra, like twice as much. Like, if it's the difference between $5 and $10, or maybe even $25 and $45, I like to go for the one that, I want.
Yep.
But anyway, I mean, I think that's a great topic. It brings up a lot that I think we're going to be tracking that into the future. But I don't know if we have much more else to say on it at the moment, because it's so speculative and it changes the industry. And thank you for bringing that to me. I had no idea that was happening. Well, why don't we take another quick break?
Hey, Joel.
Hey, Danny. What's going on?
Have you heard about that new game called La Fleur?
Not enough. Do you have more to tell me about it?
Absolutely, I do. First of all, it is a game about Rococo French garden enthusiasts. And if you don't know what Rococo is, it's like late Baroque, so we're talking about cool stuff.
Oh, hell yeah. I love me a art history.
So in this game that you should know about, because it is super cool, you're going to play one of these enthusiasts, and you're trying to have the best garden party of all the aristocrats who are throwing garden parties. And all the other aristocrats are going to be trying to outdo you. Does that sound like something that you want to do?
Like, competition to be the fanciest boy? The fanciest lad? Please tell me more.
I thought a dandy like you would love that. So, here's the thing. You're going to have to go around. You're going to start off with a chateau. It's going to suck. It's going to be plain. It's going to be boring. But that's where you come in. You're going to have to run around Paris collecting stuff to glitz it up and make the best possible garden party. Does that sound like something that you want to do?
What, Trip the Light Fantastic and Oui Paris?
I don't know what you just said, but I liked it. Okay. Well, in the end, if you can do it, if you can pull it off, if you can be the most prestigious Rococo garden party, then you'll be declared the host of the Grand Soiree, and you will win at La Fleur. What do you say about that?
I say, where do I find out more, Danny?
You can learn more at DocSominum.com. The game is currently live on Kickstarter, unless you're listening to this in the back catalog, in which case you should probably just look for it on Amazon or wherever you buy games. And buy the game. Buy La Fleur.
Yeah.
Be the fanciest and the Frenchest.
I challenge everybody at home to try to be fancier and Frencher than me. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck. You're going to need it.
All right. Well, back to the show of the Megamoth Studios Super Secret Podcast.
If you can call it that.
Welcome back to the show, folks. So, and here in our second segment, I'm going to bring a topic to Danny. So mine's more of a discussion, and it's funny that we talked so much about baseball and sports earlier, because there's always this, I think, this sort of conversation, this ongoing conversation about what separates a sport from a game. Because it's like all games are sports. No. The opposite. All sports are games to an extent, but not all games are sports. And I actually had something that we talk about often in designing X Seekers of Fortune. And when I think about game making, I hear other game makers talk about it. And that's the concept in games of rubber banding.
Okay.
So in rubber banding is where if you pull out ahead of any other player, they get tools in order to stay close and competitive with you and potentially, get pulled and snapped past you, that sort of thing. In X Seekers of Fortune, we give players access to special abilities, heroic feats that aren't available if they are in the lead. So that allows the person not in the lead to kind of come back. But I was thinking about that the other day, and I was like imagining if a sport, I don't think sports usually have rubber banding. You could go out, okay, so let's take baseball since we talked about it earlier. One team, you take teams that are very oppositely stacked. Like, let's just say you take like a mediocre college or high school team and put them up against like the Red Sox
Savannah
or the
Bananas.
Yeah. Who's the Savannah Bananas?
Oh, they're all the rage.
Okay.
You got to check that out. I can't tell you.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to it. But you put them, there's a chance that you could go out onto the baseball diamond or a baseball field and in one inning hit like get 9 runs in. The other team gets 0. Yeah. And that other team with 0 runs does not get any new tools to help them come back. It's just a massacre.
Yeah.
So I guess I don't know if that's and I imagine this being an ongoing discussion, the different, like what makes something a sport, but I'm going to posit right now that, and this is recent technology, so it doesn't retroactively apply to all games. Not every game has this, but I think a game would definitely have rubber banding versus a sport would not. So that's one of my theories I'm positing, and I was wanting to test that against you and see if you could think of any examples, counterexamples.
Well, I don't know. I mean, like if you were going to find a counterexample, it'd probably be in e-gaming, esports, which shout out to esports being officially accepted as an Olympic sport.
Oh, is that happening at the next Olympics?
Yeah, it was unanimously voted in.
Wow. Is it going to be summer or winter?
Don't know.
They should make it winter. I think it bring some pizzazz to winter. Summer's too flashy already.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that could just be the Winter Olympics and I'd be okay.
Let's face it, yeah.
So the concept of rubber banding, I think that you could imagine, like, so for baseball, for instance, like just as a thought experiment, if you're in the lead, if you're in the lead, you only get 2 strikes. Just not saying that's balanced.
Yeah.
But that could be an example of you have 2 strikes, or
2 strikes, you're out.
Or 5 balls, right? Mm-hmm. Now, you probably wouldn't do 5 balls because that's going to lengthen the game, and we know baseball's already takes too long to play.
Yeah, hasn't it substantially come down since they put a pitch clock on?
Yeah, I think so. I don't follow baseball, as much.
Oh,
but
we should get Lucas. As the podcast grows, this would be a great example of us bringing in one of our friends who's an expert on something and putting them on the screen and letting them. Talk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Basketball again, and I'm not saying these are good ideas or that they should do these, but I'm just as a thought experiment, is there possible that you could implement different rules for the team that's behind? Baseball, it's
much easier.
Much easier. Basketball is a much faster paced game.
Yeah.
You could do something like in basketball, free throws count as 2 points if you're behind.
Yeah,
right?
but it would probably have to be behind within a certain amount to get you like.
There's no such thing as a technical foul if you're behind.
That's my basketball. Bring back the 90s, baby. How's only 90s kids know. But yeah, those are great examples of how you could implement those kinds of things in sports. But then the question becomes, would people accept that?
No, not at all.
No, yes.
but they would if you introduced it as a brand new sport. The problem is people don't like change.
Yeah. Anything
that they change, whether it has any impact on the symmetrical rules of the game, people complain about. Like anytime they make any change to baseball, there are going to be people who are upset about any sport. But if we created a new game called like Zuga Ball, and we just put some rubber banding rules into it, I don't think that would preclude it from being a sport. Mm-hmm. I think for me, what defines a game as a sport is there enough of an invested community in playing the game competitively that you can start to see the beginning of, if not like a professional class, like certainly a pro class in the sense of being heads and tails above the average player. You know, because you know better than I, but it's like StarCraft considered to be an esport.
It was, I think, for a long time. I'm not sure. Like the thing with the weird thing about video games or esports, I shouldn't say weird, but probably one of the better revolutionary things is esports tend to have a shelf life, and eventually there's going to be another game that comes along that services the same skill set but is newer and improved and maybe addresses some of the problems that eventually arose from the last game. So what you're talking about with like the idea of like you could make a new baseball in esports, you know, like a new baseball could come around. Like I'm sure
it's kind of what baseball's trying to do is make a new baseball, but they have to be very careful about how much they can change. It's like they can change the coat of paint, but it's like they can't get a new car. They just have to keep changing parts on the existing car.
No, that's, oh my God, my cat is going crazy right now. I think there's a fly in the room and he loves hunting flies. So I do agree. Like, well, if I understand correctly, obviously we're not a sports podcast. We are two nerds who don't follow sports all that closely, but I do know that
except for women's volleyball.
Summer
Just joking.
Another 4 years, got to count down.
Yeah.
But I know that basketball, there's kind of starting to be the controversial talk, if you will, like a sort of controversial talk about like, is the 3-pointer too good? Has it worked the game? Because the game, like a lot of people now complain that the game now is just essentially, you know, people like lobbing 3 points at 3-pointers. There's not a lot of driving it to the hole. You know, like the push and pull between defense and drive isn't quite there anymore, and it makes the game a little less dynamic. It makes it exciting. I mean, seeing Steph Curry go on a role like he did at the Olympics, speaking of the Summer Olympics, where he's just knocking them down one after another and causing the team to like go from a losing position to a winning position. It's exciting, but is that the most exciting version of basketball day in, day out that people want to see, or do they want to see like I just saw this clip that a lot of people we're now becoming a sports podcast. I saw a clip last night of Michael Jordan making jumping over a guy to make a slam dunk, and it was a slam dunk that broke the backboard. It was like the most epic clip I've ever seen in my life. He makes the slam dunk, dumping over the guy, breaks the backboard. His momentum carries him away from the glass. 3 defenders on the opposite team get showered in the glass of the backboard. A lot of people are like, is this AI? They
died?
No, might as well. They're
of embarrassment.
They never recovered, I'm sure. A lot of people are like, is this AI? Because I've never seen this clip. It turns out it's from a really obscure game he played that was like, what is it? Like what do they call that when you go out and just
exhibition?
Play? It was like an exhibition in Europe, and he was like playing against Team Italy. Like it was like right in front before the Olympics.
This is why people hate Americans.
Yeah, no, Michael Jordan is the most American in my opinion. Because he trash talk. He probably learned Italian to trash talk those guys.
Yeah,
and rubbed it in their face. But go and check that clip. Anyways, I forgot why exactly we said that. Why it was going on. But like, yeah, basketball has changed. You don't see that anymore. Mostly because the backboard has been fixed. Well, but also, it's not that same kind of game where people are like trying to jump over each other or get past each other. They're like staying back and shooting from the edges.
I think the 3-pointer is something that it should be in basketball. I think that if you're talking about nerfing a 3-pointer, you need to be thinking less about should there be a 3-pointer and more about is the 3-point line in the right place.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think some people have suggested it shouldn't, because like the idea is like the 3-point line goes to the edges up until like the right at the edge of the court, and then it kind of comes in, and so those corner shots are way easier to hit than other parts of the 3-point line.
Yeah, those should just be 2-pointers.
Yeah, exactly. I think that would probably change things.
Or they're still worth 3 points, but every time you hit one, a video plays on the jumbotron that like really embarrasses you. It's like the player like dressed up as a baby in a diaper or something like that. It's like, oh, a baby shot.
I mean, that's
thinking outside the box here,
you are
just like
outside.
A game designer.
I thought thinking outside the box would be like if you miss a 3-pointer, you lose a point.
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, it's like so that way it's like a high risk, high reward shot.
That's also an interesting approach.
Yeah,
I mean, if we ever are people who have a lot of means to make stupid YouTube videos, I would love to experiment with different variants of playing basketball as like a video. It's like we tried 5 different variants for basketball scoring.
Yeah,
that'd be interesting.
And I'm sure there's plenty of like almost pro or former pro players who would love to go out and just run an exhibition, like a few exhibition drills.
Dennis Rodman.
Yeah, love to get him. That would be fantastic. But to go back to it, so I guess that was like my thing. I guess I was thinking that sports, there in my head, with the approach to sport, was like there's this pure athleticism that that does not reward being behind. I don't want to say incentive, because we always have to be careful. You don't want to incentivize being behind. You don't want to make it better to be from behind.
Yeah, we know that.
Yeah,
well,
I had a game with Laird last night playing X Seekers of Fortune. You were watching it. He ultimately used. You've had final count. He had 15 or so Action X.
He had over 15 Action X cards,
and I still beat him.
And you had 0.
I had 0. Yeah, I technically used a few, but he had taken all my Action X cards or caused me to bury them. I had no Action X cards in archive, and essentially, part of me is like, should I have won that game? Granted, I think he was trying to go.
He beat himself.
He beat himself. Like I played very conservatively at a certain point, and I think and he was still trying to razzle dazzle.
I feel like when you're playing with Laird, a lot of the times it's like he's trying to execute a specific science experiment.
Yes,
that will result in winning, but he doesn't know exactly what the right formulation of the chemicals he's putting. Whatever. I mean, I'm getting into a weird, murky analogy here.
But ultimately, like, I won the game. I won that game because all I did was play X Seekers of Fortune.
Yeah,
the way that we designed it to be played.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, I don't. So I find it interesting the idea that you said, which is a sport is almost defined by its spectator.
Yeah,
like that's what elevates something from a game to a sport. Well, we can discuss that, I think, more.
I think that's part of it. I don't know if that is all of it. I think for me, like, it's more about the competitive, the ability to have like almost like a league, and the ability to have players invested enough to treat the game as more than a game. It's when a game can be elevated to a lifestyle, right?
That is kind of like one of the things that makes an esport an esport. And there were plenty of games that I saw, like I've seen that there are video games that become somebody's entire world, and they no longer consider themselves a generic gamer. They consider themselves somebody who plays that video game. My brother, I think, played Dota 2 for a while, and now he's playing Deadlock. So Dota is defense. It stands for Defense of the Ancients, DOTA. It was initially. I wonder if this is picking up. It was, so to give you a brief story behind it. I think there must be something reflecting that he's like. Anyways, all right. To give you the quick and dirty version of the story, it was a Warcraft 3 mod. So they took existing assets from Warcraft 3, and the person made a new map and a new gameplay style. So it was something you had to download Warcraft 3 and then find a special server playing Dota. And then that became so popular that Riot made League of Legends, which was essentially Dota, but official, like built from the ground up. And the big thing about Dota is you choose your hero at the beginning of the game, so you have special abilities. Like your team and the opposing team will have different abilities based on the heroes that they chose. And your goal is you're trying to push, like, you're on opposite sides of the map, and you're trying to push the opposite team back and take over more space of the map, and eventually get to their home base and destroy their home base. Mm-hmm. It's almost like
that sounds cool.
Football, rugby. It has that element to it. And so the League of Legends came out. I think a couple other games came out, but the big game that came out eventually was Dota 2, which Valve created. And
have you ever played it?
I haven't sat down and played it.
Nathan or Steven?
Nathan.
That seems like because he's Kill Team, right?
Yeah. Very similar to that style of game. But now Valve has released another, like, essentially what I always say we should do, we should explore in our game design is they took the basic concept of Dota, and now they're releasing a third-person shooter that has the same like map push and pull and the same hero abilities, but instead, because Dota was like kind of a point and click RPG style, and so because of it being based on Warcraft, And now they're making it more of an action shooter, which I think will make it even more of a spectator sport because people, I think, react better to seeing like that style of game as something they visually consume.
That's
and
cool.
Remember, Dota 2 had some of the biggest that and League of Legends had some of the biggest prize pools, some of the biggest arena filling events. So it's not like they were slouching. This is gonna be fun. I'm having a good time. Winston, do you want to say hi to everybody? No. So I do think you've got a great point there, and I think we could get more into that because I think this is something I'm going to keep coming back to. It's like, how about this as what separates a game from a sport? I think that's going to be something I keep coming back to. Because then I will say, because the big now you're doing it. You're trolling my cat. Now the big thing is because, and maybe we can end on this, is because rubber banding is a newer technology in games than a lot of things. Chess doesn't have rubber banding.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. So this but is chess would you consider chess, if it's observed by enough people, is it a sport?
Chess is a sport.
You think chess is a sport? What about Magic the Gathering?
Magic's a sport.
Okay, cool. So you would put those in, those games can be sports. But it also, I guess that also begs the question, are you playing the game just because you're playing a game that is a sport, are you playing it as a sport? If you and I sat down and played chess, it's not sports level chess.
I'm not sure it's a sport if we're playing basketball.
No. Oh. No, those days are behind us. But that's actually a pretty interesting question. It's so I find your this I don't know if I want to call it a thesis, but you almost have definitely defined it even better. The difference between game and sport is the outside observer and the amount of outside observer, and then also, like you said, if it could be a lifestyle, if you can, if I were to get good enough at Magic that people would want to have, I don't know, a card sleeves with my name on it. That's probably a bad example. I was trying to come up with a jersey example.
I think the spectator thing, I think sports tend to attract spectators, but I think it's more of an indicator that there's a sport being played, less than that's what defines it as a sport, if that makes sense. So because I do think that the sport is just the elevation of the game into something that the players will regard as being more than just something that they do, and becomes a lifestyle. And that's at the highest level. I mean, the game can be played at lower levels and still be a sport, but people still have, I think not everyone, but a lot of people still have the aspiration to play it at that higher level, even if they'll never be able to get there.
Yeah. That's very true. I mean, let's face it, almost, and that's the great thing. One of the great things about Magic is everybody sits down and they feel like they have that chance. There is something that separates out. I do believe there's something that separates out the pro Magic player from the person who thinks that they could go pro. But it's a lot more feasible for me at 38 to think I could sit down and maybe hit the pro tour on Magic versus there's zero chance that I could go and get on an MLS team.
That is true.
Yeah.
I will give you that.
Yes. I'm not saying I can do it with Magic, but it was my chances are infinitely greater.
Although I would prefer to watch you try to grind for the MLS.
All right. Well, hey, folks, maybe we can get a tier up on Patreon. Well, I think let's put a pin in this conversation because I do think that it's an ongoing conversation. I'll probably come up with other ideas and challenge the one that we put here today. But why don't we go ahead and take one more quick break, and then we're going to get into our show ending 8 to rate and something random. Ever dreamed of embarking on legendary quest, unlocking hidden secrets, and discovering untold riches? Dive into the world of X Seekers of Fortune. It's the game that's soon to be taking the internet by storm. Sign up today at xseekersoffortune.com and start your journey to greatness. Remember, fortune favors the bold. See you there. All right, folks, we're back with 8 to rate, the overrated, underrated lightning round. And this week, Denny has given me the go-ahead to be the one to give him the 8 to rate.
I've never done it before. I've
Yeah.
only administered the 8 to rate.
Yeah, you like to administer things, don't you?
I
mister?
do.
Don't you?
That's why I am the what did you call me at the beginning? Your torturer,
Tormentor.
Your
Yeah,
tormentor.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Well, you've done a great job of only tormenting my cat this episode.
Well, there's something random still to come.
You've been looking forward to this all day long, I'm
Been
sure.
working on it.
All right, 8 to rate, sir. So I'm just going to, the reminder, the way that we do this is I throw out a topic. You either deem it overrated or underrated, and you can talk through your thought process, either before or after.
Okay.
So number 1, owning a house.
Overrated.
Overrated?
Yeah, I think the amount of maintenance that's required and the cost of that maintenance can be unsettling. And you may be able to afford to get in a house, but can you afford to stay in a house?
Yeah.
That is something people don't often ask themselves.
Yeah. I mean, the way I have a rule in my head going forward is like, can I, the idea, can you afford to pay for your car twice? Because not only are you paying for the car, but you also need to put in enough money of maintenance, to keep the car running.
I think it speaks to the fact that houses are too expensive. I think if a house was affordable, I should have enough money to pay my mortgage and to pay for the things that go along with it.
Yeah.
And I don't like the idea that, all of the real estate is owned by an overclass that has a ton of money and the rest of us are renting. But at the same time, I have to be honest that owning a house has been a challenge. I love my house. I'm not trying to get out of my house, but I don't want it to come across as though, because I think everyone has a very high opinion from the outside looking in at home ownership, but I think that there are a lot of downsides. So right now I'd say it's overrated, at least within my peer group.
Yeah, I got you. No, I feel, and I understand that too. It's like, it seems like all butterflies and, roses until your AC goes out.
Yeah, exactly. And then they're like $15,000, please.
Yeah. It's like, oh, wow.
Okay.
Budget for that.
Oh, there goes my salary for the year.
All right. Movie you just saw, Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
Remember, it's like the highest grossing R-rated film of all time now. So it beat The Passion of the Christ.
Yeah,
Was that better than Jesus?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're talking about Marvel Jesus here.
Yeah, that's
this is tough. I kind of am of two minds of it. As a movie, I feel like maybe it's a little overrated. It's not great, but then again, I kind of heard that it wasn't great. So in that sense, I would say that it's underrated. And then certainly from like a business performance standpoint, I mean, it feels appropriately rated. I think Deadpool and Wolverine is something that more or less people have right. I don't feel like the consensus take is wrong. It's just kind of
everybody saw it. They all had a good time. Nobody's saying it's the greatest movie of all time.
Right, and that's where it is, and that's where it should stay.
Okay, so perfectly rated.
Appropriately rated, yeah.
Appropriately. Okay, well, now I've got one that kind of revolves like your this dual lifestyle that you got recently. How do you feel about living downtown?
Oh, wow. It's a mixed bag. I would say it is... Do I think it's underrated or do I think it's overrated? I'm going to go overrated. I don't like traffic. I don't like random people coming and going. I myself am a very reserved person. I like to live in my quiet corner of the world and feel, the suburbs is my speed. I'm okay with it. I don't want to live in a place that every place looks the same, but a nice neighborhood that isn't necessarily the highest traffic neighborhood is kind of my speed.
Okay. Well, that kind of takes the next question, which was living in the burbs.
I would say that it is underrated.
Okay. Well, number 5, now this is a game I know you play, Fortnite. How do you feel about that recently?
Fortnite is... underrated or appropriately rated. I don't think it's overrated. I had no intention of playing a lot of Fortnite in my life. I don't have the time to. I don't really have the inclination to. It's not like I'm running to play first person shooters, although I do have a soft spot on them. GoldenEye, Halo, growing up.
Oh yeah.
But that being said, I love Fortnite. I enjoy playing it. It also tickles my game design brain because I'm often looking at the little tweaks that they make to the balance in that game, and it's often food for thought. Like, oh, okay, that's cool. I like how they kind of tweak this knob here to make this heal. Like, one thing they recently did that was really interesting is it used to be that when you used a med kit, you had like 10 seconds that you had to sit there, and then after 10 seconds of the timer going, you would get the effect. But if you started moving or doing anything before it, the timer would go away and you would have to restart. So it was like if someone came in on you, you'd have to run away and find someplace safe to use the med. That's kind of the flavor, right? But now I think they found that like the med kits and the shields maybe are a little underpowered compared to the aggressive weapons. So they've made it where you can actually have the timer going while moving a little bit. You can't like jump around and stuff.
But you can maybe find some more cover or change your cover.
Look around, get some cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So wait, what does that leave it at?
I'm gonna boldly say that Fortnite is underrated.
Okay. I could kind of agree with. I think the aesthetic of it causes people to undervalue it when it's actually a really solid game. It's like one of the better games in that genre. There's a reason it became the top one, and it's not just because kids play it and it's kiddie. It's because it's like, professional people play it.
Yeah.
And I think the only people who denigrate it are the people who most denigrate it are the ones who think that a game needs to look like gunmetal and brown soup. So you saw it earlier. I'm borrowing a PlayStation 5. What do you think of the PlayStation 5's aesthetic now that you've seen it up close and personal? Do you want to you can take another look at it?
I guess I don't know how people rate it, so it's hard for me to say if I think it's under or overrated.
They mostly, I think there's a lot of making fun of it. There's a lot of like, it takes up way too much space.
Yeah. That seems right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it's a great device, but yeah, I mean, it looks like a trade binder that's full from my perspective here.
Yeah, and not like elegantly full. It's like there's probably a few too many cards. You might have like double stuffed a few of those slots.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like a trade binder mixed with like a reverse Oreo.
So I guess overrated?
Overrated, I
guess, yeah. Now that I think about it, it's probably over and underrated. Doesn't necessarily
make sense for that question. Yeah, I think that
put it on a tier list. A to C or S to D or whatever.
Oh, in terms of aesthetic?
Yeah.
Somewhere between a C and a B.
Okay.
It's not quite mediocre, but it's not exciting. Okay. It honestly looks like something that Tesla would produce, and that's not a knock against Tesla, but it kind of looks like,
it's not
a battery that they would put on your wall or something.
Yeah. That's it. It could be a oversized Ethernet port or something like that. Yeah. Okay. No, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I think the PlayStation 4 was much more aesthetically pleasing in my opinion because it kind of disappeared, but it also still had like a nice edge to it that looked like something out of science fiction. Number 7, our new setup.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say that this is underrated. Honestly, like I was gonna say this after the show. I feel like we're recording a podcast for the first time in some ways, like a real podcast. Like it feels a little bit different. Mm-hmm. It feels the same. Like I feel like it hasn't changed our ability to have a conversation. But it is nice to actually bring it into the physical dimension to be able to share the laughs. Sharing laughs feels nice over line, but it feels a lot better in person. I don't know. And then the added benefit of being able to troll a cat while you record a podcast is just the kind of multitasking I'm in for.
Yeah. You hear that, Winston? Today's not the last day for this for you. That kind of incorporated my 8, so I'm going to call an audible and ask, what do you think, or how do you feel about this?
That pen.
Do you want to write with it? I can let you write with it.
Okay. First of all, you have to tell me, do people think this pen is are they high on it or low on it?
They consider it a lot of people consider it the best entry level fountain pen.
The best entry level fountain pen.
Yes, it's called the Lamy Safari.
Is this the first fountain pen that you've owned?
No, but I wanted to, I just wanted to change up my situation, like, add another little piece of aesthetic to my journaling. It's also encouraged me to write in cursive again, and I actually think I'm getting good at cursive again.
Aesthetics underrated. Fountain pens in general overrated.
Oh, ouch.
I feel like I'm gonna break it. I don't know how to write with it without feeling like I'm gonna break it, and that's
one of the things. Is like it actually has this grip on here that encourages you to hold it right. So yeah, it's like this tripod grip, and you're supposed to like finger, and then that.
It's a lot of fingering.
Yeah, pretty good at it.
You heard it here first, folks. He's pretty good at it.
Yeah. So, all right, folks. Well. Now he's teased me with it long enough. That's the end of our 8 to rate. Now, Danny, did you have something random for me?
I do, but are you doing that weird thing you do where you tell people they need to subscribe first, or are we just not doing that anymore?
That's a good point. That's all right, folks.
Oh, but hold on, I have a little twist I want to put on this.
Okay, well, tell me about it.
While you do this, I want you to eat something. And I have the thing that you'll eat. I'm going to provide it.
God. Okay. Are you sure we're not doing the something random already?
We're starting the something random. It's going to bleed a little early, but don't worry. There'll be more randomness to come. I will eat the same thing with you at the same time so you don't feel alone.
Okay.
But I want you to eat this slowly while also doing the spiel that you normally do with the same bravado and energy. Shall we?
All right, I'm going to do my best. I will say that I had a large smoothie before the show. I wish I'd known I was going to be eating on the show. I would have drinking a little less of the smoothie.
It's only getting worse from here, buddy.
Oh, God. Oh, well, maybe I don't have to make dinner plans now. Oh, speaking of which, how are we doing on time?
We're doing okay.
Cool, yeah.
So these are little tamarind balls.
Tamarind balls? What is that?
This isn't what I was thinking it is.
Oh, no.
I have never had this, so we're going to find out together. It's called tarugo enchilado, tamarind ball with chile.
This is a Mexican candy. I love Mexican food, except for Mexican pastries and Mexican candy. I'm sorry, that's just not my style. I'm pretty sure it goes back to that old joke, like, heaven is where all the, police officers are British and all the engineers are German.
Will, can you put a picture of this so people can kind of get a close-up of what this looks like on the screen?
Am I just eating one?
Just one.
Okay. All right. But I'm eating it slowly.
I thought these were saladitos, and I really wanted to do this with a saladito. These are actually probably pretty good.
All right. All right, folks. Well, I just want to remind y'all that you need to please take a moment, pull out your phones, open up the tab on your browser that has our show playing on it. If you're on YouTube, please go down to the thumb, the one that goes up, click that, boom, confetti. Just like this is going to be confetti in my mouth. And what you're going to do after you press the thumbs up is... That's an interesting flavor. That's like
the heat catches up on you a little bit, huh?
It's not so much the heat. It's like, it's a little bit of the heat now. It's not flavors I would want to put together. It's like a fig that's been put into a sweet chili. I don't know. It's hard to explain. Whoa. Somebody's expressing themselves out there. And but once you've clicked the like button, then you need to just travel just a few inches over to the subscribe button and hit that subscribe button. And you know what? Why don't you go ahead and double tap it? Make sure you get it good, because you're going to hit that bell right afterwards, so you can be notified when the super secret podcast is out, and you can tell everybody about it. Now, if you're more of an audio listener on a audio like a podcast service, please rate and review us on Apple or Spotify. We're a 5 out of 5 show, I believe. You should give us a 5 out of 5 in your review. And if you leave us a review, I'm just going to say right now, we'll read your thoughts on the air if you want us to. Just put in the review to be read, and Danny and I will read it. Assuming you don't have us say some heinous stuff in there.
Then Joel will say it alone.
And if you have friends, I tell you every show, don't talk about us. But that's just a psychological trick. You're supposed to be telling your friends and family about us. If you have friends who love games and gameplay and talking about game design, we want them to be listening and expressing themselves in our comment section. So please take their phones out of their hands, pull up our show, and subscribe for them. You're doing them a favor. That's the number one thing you can do to help us reach more people. Tell others about it. Once you've liked and subscribed, once you've commented, and once you've forced this upon your friends, you have my permission to listen to the show.
There you have it.
You know, not so bad actually. I like in terms of Mexican candies, that was actually pretty good. I could see going for that again.
Yeah, I was hoping to give you something much worse. It wasn't what I thought it was. We'll do it again with the real thing.
I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
All right.
Well, I'm going to slightly modify my plans. Because I was going to ask you after this thing if you wanted to go to dinner with Ashley and I. Ashley asked if we wanted to go to Nimfas tonight. You may not be hungry, but but as we've talked about in the past, my offers stands.
Okay.
So you give that some thought.
We'll do. We still have a big meeting to go before then, right?
We have 1 hour.
We have a 1 hour meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we'll see if it's only an hour. Anyways,
it better be. I'm going to be in trouble.
Okay. Well, it's neither here nor there. Let's talk about something random real fast.
All right, something random. Well, I don't know if it'll be real fast.
Okay. And when you say we have 1 hour, do we have 1 hour until that meeting?
No, that meeting is in an hour and 20 minutes.
Oh, it's still an hour and 20 minutes away?
Yeah.
I felt like this was going to take way longer. It feels like we've been talking forever.
Yeah.
Nothing at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've got quite some time. So, I mean, I don't know, actually. Like, what is your appetite level right now?
Well, right now it's 0.
0. Okay,
Yeah.
well, that's okay. But, like, do you think that you'll be hungry?
In 2.5 hours? I could be peckish. We'll see.
Oh, peckish.
Yeah. Maybe not the biggest meal.
Okay.
Maybe I'll just down like 5 margaritas.
All right. Well, I don't know if the offer stands for that. So we talked a little bit about Herculaneum earlier. I'm saying it wrong, but I couldn't be bothered to study how to pronounce it correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned that one of the cool things about these scrolls that were found is that there was, and again, I didn't write it down, but there was like a whole trove of ancient philosophy, Epicurean philosophy that was discovered.
That's actually was such a tease that I wanted to know more about, so I'm really excited now.
Yeah. I threw that in there because X Seekers of Fortune. I thought maybe a little ancient history always adds a little home feeling for us. I don't know why I squeezed my breast that way.
We get really excited about history, folks.
So for this week's Something Random, I had the idea that there are 5 philosophers that we've learned about, and we just have their names.
Okay.
And so the game is I'm going to give you their name, and you're going to tell me what their philosophy is.
Okay. Now, these are philosophers that we've recently discovered through these parchments?
No.
Oh, okay. These are philosophers I might know.
No.
Okay.
These are just philosopher names that I've come up with.
You've come up with.
Yes.
They don't exist.
Yeah, and based on their name, you are to tell us what their philosophy is.
Okay, I think I could do this.
Okay, number 1, Blacklodicus.
His philosophy was that all of human experience is defined by the pathway between the mouth and the rectum, and everything that happens in between is the great unknown of wonder. The things you put in your body somehow turn into both this bright energy that comes out of you and this concentrated darkness that leaves you. So,
do you have an example of a parable that Blacklodicus might have told?
The fig. It starts so supple, turns so mushy, comes out so gushy.
Okay. That is an interesting parable. I would say that it's maybe just a literal description. But
yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, I mean,
didn't leave much for the imagination.
I imagine he was like pre-Plato, so he was like really working with just the very basics, like this idea that nutrition turns into, what you eat equals your energy levels or helps your energy. That's like the level he was working at. He was almost more of a doctor than he was a philosopher.
Yeah. Well, I'm not surprised that we don't know who he is.
Yeah.
Phrygian. What is Phrygian known for?
Phrygian. I imagine Fujian is of the Eastern persuasion. Maybe pre-Confucianism. I just imagine that his philosophy involves the elements. He would like Blacodicus was all about what happens inside. Fujian is all about what happens outside and how that affects you. So versus
like exterior digestion. What are we talking about?
In some ways,
because Blacodicus was all about digestion, was what I gathered from what you said.
Essentially, he was all about digestion. This one is all about, a sunshiny day is a-okay, but once it starts to rain, you need to get inside or get under some tent. You don't want that rain getting all over you. You'll be miserable and possibly get a cold.
Fujian believed that the manifestation of the outer world reflected the inner lives of people,
or it absorbed. What happens in the outside world will absorb into you. You're like porous. You're like a wood that can take in water. So you must be careful to how to explore the outside. He was essentially like just the first weatherman.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and he just said, it sucks when you're wet, kind of.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, it was just like, how you're moody when you go outside and it rains and you get all moody. You're moody because it rained. So, get your ass inside. You don't have to be out there while training.
All right. What about Lepithecles?
Now, this is like a much later philosopher, that they had nuances. They had depth. His philosophy was very much surrounded by this. Wait, can you say the name again?
Lepithecles.
This woman in the sky, and she was forever either going to, shower you with pampering love, or step on you hard. But his philosophy was that while you would think that everybody wants to be pampered, some people actually want to be stepped on, and those people are the ones who ultimately rise to the top and rule the world, the step-ons. And so he would be on the lookout for people who were looking for this woman in the sky to step on them, and then he would warn everybody, watch out for that one.
So he basically was like, okay, if they're into the mommy dommy, the dommy mommy, I don't know which order is it supposed to be, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They may be a problem.
Yeah.
And so you only want people who want soft love?
Yeah. He was essentially the first kink shamer.
He's a kink shamer.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he sounds like an asshole.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. So he wouldn't love you, huh?
He'd
tell people, hey, be careful about that guy.
I'd like to see what he thinks of me, without knowing anything else.
What do you think Lepithecles' analysis of you would be?
I think both of us would completely fry his brain if he walked in a mile in our shoes. He would not be able to handle anything of the modern era. You have to remember, if any one of us, if a news feed was shipped back even 100 years, if somebody were to take out a phone and just slowly scroll in front of a middle-aged man in 1920, they would explode.
I mean, I think that's true for 100 years ago when society was more puritanical. If you go a couple thousand years ago when they were freely having sex with everything and taking, eating and drinking until they threw up and going to murder sports and things, they may be hey, tame.
Yeah, that's true. It is a constant pendulum swing, and it's definitely been pretty radical.
They would be like, we love your entertainment until they realized it was fiction.
Yeah.
They're like, what do you mean this isn't really happening? Okay, what about Bronk?
Such a simple man, but beautiful in his way of thinking. Bronk. Don't you love that name? Bronk. I mean, there's the hell inside of you that can be accessed in order to create heaven on earth. He was very much you talked about puritanical. He had very much that sensation. It's it takes a demon to create a better world. You just have to control that demon. Very, very much, philosophers that are, somewhat popular with young men today. He kind of led that charge. but nobody respected him at the time because his name was Bronk.
So wait, I'm not understanding. He was like the first like red pill guy?
Oh, well, yeah. So like, I think what people would call red pill today. I don't know if he, it's like it was a different time. I don't think he was like quite red pill, but the idea of like, oh, you're a little devil inside, and you got to tame that devil so you can go out there and tame the world.
It sounds like you're just doing a Jordan Peterson
I am
impression.
doing a Jordan Peterson because Jordan Peterson just ripped off Bronk.
Okay.
He picked up the book. He thought, this guy's name is so dumb. And he read it. He's like, well, I don't have to do any more work for the rest of my life. I just have to repeat this.
Okay, so Bronk was just like Jordan Peterson's earlier incarnation.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
How did he feel about lobsters?
A Bronk, don't let the name fool you. He wasn't that educated, so he didn't know the entire lobster thing.
That's
and yet he still came to the same conclusions.
What kinks did he have?
Huh?
What were Bronk's kinks? How would Lepithecus have felt about Bronk's kinks?
Oh, I mean, well, let's just say Lepithecus would have had to have really gotten cool with the idea of maybe it's not a mommy in the sky but a daddy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then the stepping is definitely still happening. So,
was he SSA?
SSA?
Same sex attracted?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I'm.
Have you seen that SSA thing?
No, I can't say I have.
Apparently, that's like a new thing with. I don't know how new it is, but it's how Mormons are kind of.
Not saying gay.
Yeah, being honest about same-sex attraction while still living in heterosexual relationships.
It's like, I'm SSA, but I choose to be with this woman.
Yes, but like openly, like I am attracted to men, and we have camping trips.
No, it makes complete. I mean, like it was only a matter of time before like that turned and like
it's like soaking. Like soaking is just fucking.
Yeah.
But they're like super offended if you say like, "Hey, cool, you're gay," and they're like, "No, I'm SSA."
Yeah, well, I mean, in their defense, I guess to an extent, gay is to live in a same-sex relationship or ultimately like be doing same-sex stuff publicly, and so they're not gay. It kind of helps the homosexual community because now they have a term for the people who are same-sex attracted, but they're not living the gay lifestyle, and then like they're kind of the other in the homosexual community. So it almost is mutually beneficial for both sides to have that term.
Yeah, it's a weird term, and the reality TV show, which is on TLC,
the Learning Channel. What you learning about over there?
SSA. It's
yeah.
very interesting. It's very interesting to see these people explaining their situations to other people.
They have probably a lot of situationship shit going on.
There's a lot of weird stuff going on there, but
Yeah.
it's pretty amusing.
You know what? It probably really works out for that SSA person to have to explain it every time because then every person they meet, they get to make themselves the center of attention.
You would certainly do that.
Yeah, they share that in common with the others.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they land on a healthy mindset at some point.
Yeah,
but
at the very least, it helps. Now it's no longer hop, skip, and a jump to get to gay. It's like just a skip and a jump.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's good for everybody involved.
Yeah, I don't know.
Except for the women who marry these men.
Well, to me, it feels like you're going down the gay road and then you like swerve off into a ditch. And you're like, oh yeah, I promise I want to be here.
Yeah.
It's like, no, bro, you just want to go camping all the time.
Go camping. What other activities? He just bowls. He goes out bowling every weeknight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, number 5.
Yeah.
Josh.
Josh.
Yeah, Josh.
That's his name.
His
no last name.
Just Josh. Yeah.
But Josh is obviously a very new age, very young philosopher. So his philosophy really ultimately derives from do what makes you seem the most interesting to everyone around you.
Oh, okay. That's definitely a philosophy of the modern age.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of like it's one step further away from do what makes you feel good. So it is a little bit more interesting in that sense, but it ultimately is the most shallow philosophy I can think of because there's no backbone to whatever you choose. You can try to
very vapid, right?
Yeah, very vapid. Josh doesn't even attempt to justify his decisions in doing the most interesting thing. He just spouts them off and just expects everybody else to sort of acclimate to what he considers the most interesting thing at the time, which could be contradictory day to day.
But he's deriving what he thinks is most interesting based on what he believes people will think is most interesting.
I know it is kind of like this echo chamber approach, isn't it? But trust me, Josh spends a lot of his time listening to, absorbing the world through the internet to determine what he thinks other people consider interesting.
Yeah.
He subscribes to all the right magazines. He lets other people curate his taste. Because that ultimately, it's like you want to crowdsource and, what makes you cool and interesting at the end of the day. And just, do exactly what the magazines tell you to do.
Yeah. What magazines is he subscribing to?
I would imagine the New Yorker because he wants to see.
And the Atlantic?
Probably. But I feel like he has like something just, a little heady in there. Like the
Popular
Economist.
Mechanics? Oh, the Economist.
Yeah, something like that, But he doesn't really read it. He just looks at the pictures. So he knows who the politicians are when he sees them.
He likes to carry it out so people see him with it.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's never quite read one cover to cover.
No. Maybe the first few paragraphs of each article.
Yeah, but he does know what pharmaceutical ads are in there.
Oh, 100%, because he's definitely taking them and buying their stock.
Yeah.
Because you better believe, Josh, he comes from money.
Next time we'll do this, it'll be with pharmaceutical brands.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it. That is something random today. It was certainly random.
Yeah. The hard part of that one is I know enough philosophies to where I was like, I don't want to just, everything I'm coming up with is like just ripping off a real philosophy. Hence like the Brock one.
Yeah. I saw that as being a challenge, but we'll work on this. I think there's something here.
I think so.
But
I like that. I think I stand behind my choices.
Yeah, I had a different plan, but like it seemed like it would be harder for you to get you to do them. One was let's see how many D20s you could eat, and the other was see if we could get you to.
I can tell you the first one's 0, unless they were candy D20s or something.
Wow. And then the second one was you eat and regurgitate like an owl for a week, but that wouldn't fit within the time slot.
Yeah, no, you kind of have to, something random has to be like here and now, at least for now. Once we get to a level where we can have like ongoing teams of people filming us, then we can do like Mr. Beast level stuff like that.
Yeah. I don't think anyone will trust us with that much money, but that is neither here or there.
If our Kickstarter says anything. Anyways. Whoo.
Hey, well, you might want to bleep that one.
All right, folks. Well, Danny, that was a really fun something random. I always like it when it gets creative. So where do you want to be found on the internet?
Me?
Yeah, you or our Megamoth Studios in general.
Oh yeah, TikTok.
Yes.
I think our socials are still around us, presumably.
Yeah. I should probably update that graphic
Megamoth
though.
Studios. Check us out at xseekersoffortune.com. We would love for you to pre-order the game. We're on TikTok. _seekers_of_fortune. And Megamoth Studios as well on Instagram. Mm-hmm. Find us on Facebook. Google us. You'll find us.
Yeah,
we're around.
We got that SEO going on, and you can find me. I am also available to Pesker online at TikTok and on Instagram at the Joel Watts. So if you want to find us there. And with that, I would like to thank my co-host Danny, and I have been your host Joel, reminding you that you must start somewhere. So why not here? Thanks for watching. Edited by William Wymore. Theme music by James Holden.